I can't play any more of that. I'm pretty sure SNL will sue. Good morning, Pineapple. Well done. I have not seen something funny from Saturday Night Live in a long time. Good morning, Pineapples. Looking very good and very nice. Welcome to the Wake Up America show. Merry Christmas week. It's the most wonderful time of the year, or at least it used to be. I was reading a piece in the Wall Street Journal this weekend by Brenda Cronin that stopped me in my tracks. It wasn't about politics or the border or the budget. It was about something we all used to take for granted, the office Christmas party, right? And you know what I'm talking about, right? Everybody remembers the office Christmas parties. Lots of famous office Christmas parties. Some of my favorite movies are centered around an office Christmas party. You fig. You figula. This is weird. What is weird? What the hell? It's Die Hard, the greatest Christmas movie of all time. What do you mean? This is weird. That is the holiday Christmas party. You remember these, right? Not the holiday gathering, right? The one you probably went to this week. I mean the real ones from like 20, 30 years ago. So Cronin describes them in the Wall Street Journal as bacchanals, roast pigs, fire hoses of booze, senior partners doing conga lines with mailroom clerks. It was the one night a year where the hierarchy dissolved, where the masks came off, and where, for better or worse, you saw your coworkers as human beings. But look at us now. The modern office party is kind of like a forensic exercise in risk management, right? It is sparkling water, 2 drink tickets, 6 p.m. hard outs, and a forced bon homie under fluorescent lights. Because, of course, HR has taken over everything. Well, of course, because HR is terrified, right? We've traded the legendary evenings for the safe evenings. We've kind of sanitized the fun out of existence because, well, we're terrified of liability, right? We're terrified of the messiness of real life. And as I was thinking about this, reading this article this weekend about how we've kind of replaced this genuine human connection with a sterile, safe, fake version of it, I realize, of course, this isn't just happening in our offices. It is happening in our government, and of course, it's happening in our economy. We're being fed a sanitized version of reality, a version that looks safe on paper, but is completely detached from the truth. So this week, a bombshell report dropped from Phil Graham and John Early that proves exactly what I'm talking about. So for years, the Census Bureaus have been telling us that America has a poverty problem. They tell us that the poverty rate is stuck at 10%. They tell us that despite spending trillions of taxpayer dollars, we just can't seem to lift people up. But here's the office Christmas party truth that HR doesn't want you to know. The government is cooking the books. No, yes. God. I know. No, God, please, no. I know. You're never going to believe it. Yes, the Census Bureau creates those poverty statistics by counting a family's income. Okay, it sounds simple, except they refuse to count the welfare checks. They don't count the food stamps. They don't count the housing subsidies. They don't count the Medicaid. They don't count the refundable tax credits. When you actually add up the money that the federal government gives to people, we are spending $1.4 trillion a year. $1.4 trillion. If you simply took that cash and divided it up amongst every poor every poor family, you could write every single one of them, I shit you not, a $70,000 check. It's ludicrous. You could give $70,000 a year. Just give them the check. Oh, no, says the man in Washington. So think about that. We're spending $70,000 a year per family to cure poverty. But the census says they're all still poor. Why? Because if they admitted the truth that the real poverty rate in America after transfers is actually around 1%. But if people knew that was true, the entire poverty industrial complex would lose its funding. Right? So we've created a trap. A single mom earning $11,000 a year part-time is poor on paper. But when you add in her benefits, her disposable income is over $64,000. To match that lifestyle with a job, she would need a salary of $85,000. Why should she take the $40,000? Right? She wouldn't. The math doesn't work. We're paying people to stay dependent, right? We're paying them to stay home. And then we lie about the numbers to justify asking us for more money next year, right? It's the same sanitized lie, just like the fake office parties we're all having where everybody pretends to be happy while checking their watches. The government pretends to be fighting poverty while actually subsidizing it. But here's the good news, guys. You can avoid reality, but you cannot avoid the consequences of avoiding reality, as the Ford motor plants are all learning. The Ford F-150 Lightning, they called it the truck of the future, the golden child of the Green New Deal, is dead. Ford killed it this week because you didn't buy it. The government mandated it. The media hyped it. The American consumer said no. And in Phoenix, another reality check was happening. The conservative movement is having its own come to Jesus moment. Wah, 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 wah. Christ is King. Glory, glory, hallelujah. Tucker Carlson, oy vey, and Ben Shapiro trading blows at AmericaFest. The populace versus the establishment. It's messy. It's loud. It's definitely not sanitized. And honestly, I think it's exactly what we need. Tom Pappert from the Tennessee Star will be here to break it down. First time on the show. And John Miltimore will be with us. I'm sorry, I didn't mention him, but it will be a Monday with Miltimore. Christmas week, Mondays with Miltimore, and he'll talk to us about the F-150 Lightning. Tom Pappert from the Tennessee Star at 8:30 a.m. Central. We still got some stew going, baby. We're making a little mulled wine.
Consolidated Live. Merry Christmas. I'm ringing. Yes? Yes? Where? You bet. Somebody watch my line. There's a swinging party on the 19th floor.
Looked like a great time. So I want you guys to just close your eyes for a moment here. I want you to go back in time. Wait, oh, look at this. Here we go. Let's go back to 1995, or maybe it's 1988. It's mid-December. You're at work. It's 4 p.m. on a Friday, and this beat music is definitely not what's playing, because let's get something a little bit more traditional Christmas up in here. Something they would have played. Christmas grooves, no. Let's go to our music. We want to hit our songs. Here we go. Christmas music. Something a little more traditional. The Home Alone soundtrack. Yeah. 1995. Okay. Yeah, it's the 90s. It's mid-December. You're at work. It's 4 p.m. on a Friday. No. This isn't going to give me Christmas party. I need classic Christmas party. Classic Christmas party rock. Hold on. Here we go. Rock Christmas. Now, this is not, we're talking about 1995. What's wrong with you guys? Give me some Bing Crosby. What's wrong with YouTube here? Here we go. It's 1995, right? Or maybe it's 1988. We'll get to Last Christmas, Drew Van Runkle. All right, it's mid-December, guys. Let's go back there. Grab your coffee, your Founding Flavors coffee. Stay warm. It's mid-December. You're at work. It's 4 p.m. on a Friday. The fluorescent lights are humming. The fax machine is doing that screaming noise. But there's a different... You're hearing that... Your dial-up phones, right? The boss walks out of his office. He's not holding a clipboard. He's not holding a liability waiver. He's holding a bottle of scotch. Yes. And he looks at the room, at the secretaries, the mailroom guys, the junior associates, the people he screams at 364 days a year, and he says, "Let's go." Yes. And for the next 6 to 8 to maybe 12 hours, the world changes. I'm talking about the Office Christmas party, the real one. Does everybody remember them? Oh, they were legendary. They were legendary, right? The one where the VP of sales, the guy who looks like he sleeps in his suit, right, is suddenly leading the conga line behind the receptionist. The one where you found out where the quiet guy from accounting is actually a semi-professional salsa dancer. The one where, yes, maybe somebody ended up asleep in the janitor's closet, or there was like a regrettable photocopy made of a certain body part. It was messy. It was chaotic. It was, as the Wall Street Journal called it this week, a bacchanal. If I could pick one scene from one movie that most encapsulates this concept, it would be this one.
They've had Christmas parties here since the dawn of the golden age of television. Until you took over, you big stiff.
Merry Christmas, Christmas out.
People were smoking indoors. People were smoking indoors.
Hey, Fred. It's Frank. Frank Hayward. Frank. You didn't happen to notice a big Christmas party going on around here?
Yes, I did see one, sir. I'm going to be right on it. I'm just going to finish this.
Okay.
Merry Christmas.
Why, thank you, Tina.
Hey,
Oh, hi.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas to you.
You're not leaving, are you? You want to go get some Chinese food?
Oh, wow, no, you're not supposed to eat that stuff. They found out that they're cutting up the alley cats and using the chop suey. It's a real bummer. Don't eat that stuff.
You idiot! You moron! Get back there!
I don't believe this.
What an idiot I am!
Did you see that, Tina?
Frankly, I'm not that dead now.
It was a bacchanal. It was fun. We had fun in the 80s and 90s. Does anybody remember when America was fun? Can we make America fun again? Who's with me? Who believes in America? Who remembers the greatness of the peak, the pinnacle of civilization, the United States in the 1980s and the 1990s? Very nice. It was a great place to live. America was at its peak. You walked into a break room, right? There are 3 balloons taped to the wall. One of them is already deflated. This is a tray. Then there's like a tray of lukewarm hors d'oeuvres. We're bringing you back to the ghost of Christmas present here. There's a cooler full of La Croix available, right? And standing by the door is Karen from HR. Right? She's smiling, but it's not. Okay, it's like one of these smiles, right? And she's looking you up and down, and she's like looking at what you're wearing. She's judging you by your shoes, right? She hands you 2 drink tickets. They're bright red like warning labels. She reminds you that the holiday gathering ends promptly at 6:30 p.m. because the cleaning crew is coming. You drink your warm beer. You make small talk about synergy with a guy you sat next to for 3 years, but you don't actually know. You check your watch. It's 6:15. You escape. What happened? This isn't just me being nostalgic for a hangover. This is a cultural shift that tells everybody where America is in 2025. I was reading this brilliant piece this weekend on the Wall Street Journal by Brendan Cronin, and the headline said it all: "The Taming of the Office Holiday Party." Quite sad. Yeah. Firms that had banner years. This is she's talking about the golden age here. She says law firms that had banner years would lay siege to hotel ballrooms. There were roast pigs on platters, chocolate fountains, orchestras, and most important, fire hoses of booze. God, that sounds fun. It's the most wonderful time of the year. Ding dong, with kids jingle belling and everyone telling you be of good cheer. Good morning, good morning. Drinking some Jefferson. Whoa, turn that down. Drinking some Jeffersonian Java this morning. Good morning, Camellia. We got a great show for you today. Merry Christmas. So the piece in the Wall Street Journal, the Wall Street Journal piece was talking about how these Christmas parties used to be the great leveler. In a hierarchy, you have bosses and workers, but at the Christmas party, the hierarchy dissolves. And she talks about how these parties were bacchanalias. She said that one got to see a whole different side of colleagues, and perhaps that was the point. But then she pivots to today and the situation we're all faced with, and it's brutal. She calls it the era of strain and forced bonhomie, right? We spend more time with our coworkers than we do with our own families, but we're terrified to actually be human around them. So who killed the Christmas office party, the office Christmas party? Was it the budget cuts? Was it the fun police? Actually, you know what, guys? I'm going to admit here, I'm going to pull a Candace Owens here, okay? And that is this is a conspiracy. It is a crime coordinated crime planned against our freedoms. The first suspect is obvious in this. It's the lawyers. It's always the lawyers. Over the last 20 years, we've seen the rise of what we call pre-crime human resources. All right, companies don't treat you like adults anymore. They treat you like walking lawsuits. Right? I looked up the data on this. In 2025, 22% of human resources managers explicitly cited reputational risk as the main reason that they scaled back the office Christmas party. Right? Think about that term, reputational risk. They aren't afraid you're going to get hurt. They're afraid you're going to get filmed. So, we all live in the panopticon now, right? In 1995, if you danced on a table, it was a legend on Monday morning. In 2025, it's viral TikTok by Sunday night. You're doxxed by Tuesday, and you're fired by Wednesday. Camera phones killed the Christmas party. Yeah. St. Selma. And all the cameras they put in the office on top of it, right? So what do companies do, right? They sanitize it. They move the party to during work hours. Have you noticed this, guys? We have the lunch party now. Nothing says celebration like drinking a glass of cheap wine at 1 p.m. under fluorescent lights while your email notifications are still pinging on your phone. It's not a party, right? It ends up being a meeting with food. But here's where it gets interesting, because you might think, oh, it's the young generation. They're all snowflakes who killed the fun. But the data says the opposite. And this is actually shocking to me. A new report out this month shows Gen Z is actually the only generation that wants the party to come back. Listen to this. 37% of Gen Z employees say they are very likely to attend the holiday party. They view it as essential networking. They want to connect. They're lonely. They've spent their entire careers on Zoom and Slack, and they're desperate for human interaction. And they want to meet the people, perhaps even for the first time, that they've been working with or for how long, with all of these all these work from home situations that many of these young people have. They want to go into the office. The rest of us trying to run away. It's the boomers and Gen X that are killing the party. The data shows that older workers are the ones bailing in record numbers. And I get it. You're 50, you're tired, you have kids. You don't want to watch the 22-year-old marketing intern throw up in a planter. But there's a cost to that. With everything, there's a trade-off, right? When the older generation checks out, the mentorship stops. The lore stops. And the culture dies. We have a generation of young people who want to be part of a tribe, and a generation of older leaders who are saying, just send me the bonus check and let me go home. I get it. And the result of this, though, are these hollow corporate shells where nobody really knows anybody. And of course, then there's the alcohol, right? Look, I'm not saying that you need booze to have fun, but let's be honest, it helped. It did. Get over it, losers. Quit being virgins. I'm sick of these sober virgins. So much of people's problems could be solved if they just drank a little alcohol and had a little sex. Just try it. I promise you guys. You'll like it. It's good for you. Puts hair on your chest. No more Coldplay concerts, says Mary Kramer. Good morning, pineapples. Looking very good and very nice. And so in 2025, we're seeing a massive, sober, curious movement. 49% of Americans say they are trying to drink less this year. Generation Z is leading that charge. 65% of them are cutting back. Now, that is a healthy choice. I applaud it. But corporate America hasn't figured out how to replace the social lubricant of alcohol with actual fun, real fun. We haven't figured out a way to have a good time without it, right? Instead of creating events that are genuinely engaging, activities, games, something real, they just took the alcohol away and left the awkwardness. So now you have 50 people standing in a quiet room, holding sparkling water, staring at each other. That's not a party. That is a waiting room. Buttery nipples for everyone, 4-shot minimum, says Grizz Cheese. Huzzah! Huzzah! Merry Christmas, baby. Pizza parties are not it, JJ. Exactly. Thank you. Huzzah. Is this the party crew or what? Good morning, pineapples. Looking very good and very nice. Nice to see people like Laissez-Faire Bra, Grizz Cheese, JJ4884, Mongoose 87, Rare Camellia, Amy J. E's, Robbie Thurman. What's up, Robbie? Haven't heard from you in a while, bud. Hope you're doing well. Merry Christmas to you. We love you very much. So why does this matter? Why have I spent the last 30 minutes of my show, my precious show, talking about this rather than any like kind of economic news or blah, 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 blah. Well, first of all, it's freaking Christmas, so lighten up. Have a buttery nipple. Yummy. And have some fun, for God's sakes. Have some fun. Put a little mistletoe. Wear one of those hats that has a mistletoe over it. Put on the ugly Christmas sweater. Let's go, guys. Get out there and have some fun. Have the happiest Christmas, you bunch of a-holes. God, I need to do the, where's the... We're going to have the happiest Christmas. That's how I feel right now.
If any of you are looking for any last-minute gift ideas for me, I have one. I like Frank Shirley, my boss, right here tonight. I want him brought from his happy holiday slumber over there on Melody Lane with all the other rich people. And I want him brought right here with a big ribbon on his head.
And I want to look them straight in the eye, and I want to tell them what a cheap, lying, no-good, rotten, four-flushing, low-life, snake-licking, dirt-eating, inbred, overstuffed, ignorant, blood-sucking, dog-kissing, brainless, dickless, hopeless, heartless, fat-ass, bug-eyed, stiff-legged, spotty-lipped, worm-headed sack of monkey shit he is. Hallelujah! Holy shit! Where's the Tylenol?
Where's the Tylenol? We're going to be the happiest bunch of assholes. The office Christmas party was one of the last places in American life where we were allowed to get messy. We're scrubbing the mess out of everything. We scrub the risk out of childhood playgrounds. We scrub the offensive jokes out of comedy, unless you go to Saudi Arabia or Riyadh and you're getting paid handsomely to talk shit on transgenderism. Everybody does it. Everybody takes money from the Saudis and the Qataris. They love Christmas. Jenny with a Y. 3 years, 4 months, and 6 days, or 1,224 days of sorority. I took up hobbies and painting. A sorority? Sorority? You've been in that sorority. Almost enough time to graduate from college. We love you, Jenny Y. Good for you. Amy says that I haven't been truly drunk since I had kids. 26 years. It's not interesting anymore. Well, I can make it interesting. Trust me. Let me tell you something about old AP. Let me tell you something about old Austin Peterson. If all 91 people from rumble.com/AP for Liberty watching this live stream right now, wherever you're watching this show, if you were with me right now, right here, I don't care. It's 7:37 in the morning, Central Time, Jefferson City, 38 degrees Fahrenheit. Pressure's 1,024 megabytes. If you were here right now, I could get you to party. I could have, you would have so much fun. Because there ain't no party like an AP party, and an AP party don't stop. See that pineapple over there? You know what that means? That P stands for party. We like to party. We like to party. We like to party. And boy, do we know how to have a good time and how to make. But I think that's the thing, is that when you're a party host, it's not your job to have a good time, but it's your job to make sure other people have a good time. But I'm the type of person who enjoys making sure other people have a good time. So I'm having a great time, baby, at the party. We are two wild and crazy guys. I don't care how old you are. You could be a Zoomer waffin, Adolf Hitler, saluting, loving, Zoomer, or you could be a Jewish rabbi, oy vey, enjoy. You got to stay kosher at the meal. You could be a Muslim terrorist, and you're going to have a great time and get drunk at my party. Unless you're in a sorority like Jenny with a Y, in which case I won't make you. But if you're swearing it off because of Allah, I will. Hey, man. Didn't the 9/11 terrorists go to a strip club and get drunk before they bombed the World Trade Center? I could get those guys to party. Hello, Akbar. Hello, Akbar. Robbie Thurman for J. He knows how to party. I've seen Robbie at a party. Amy, we're going to get you out partying. T-Mill22 is here. Quest Fanning. Quest knows how to party. JJ484 says, I'm a one-drink guy. I'm looking for a future cruise to try and turn up. That's it. AP for Liberty Cruise. Let's do it. People are going to think I'm drinking this morning. So we're talking about the office Christmas parties. We're talking about scrubbing the mess out of everything this morning. We scrubbed the risk out of the childhood playgrounds. We scrubbed the disagreement out of our universities. And now we've scrubbed the humanity out of our Christmas celebrations. We're safe. We're insured, right? We're compliant. And honestly, I think people are bored out of their minds. We've traded joy for safety. And I think we got ripped off. I don't know that the trade-off was worth it, to be quite honest. Steelbringer, bringing the steel. Thank you, brother. We do have bonus content for you today, but I don't really feel like pushing it hard. I know people are strapped for the holidays. You're buying gifts for your family and all that stuff. And sobriety, silly. Yes, I know, Jenny. See, did I make you smile, though? Did I make you laugh? Old AP knows how to have a good time. Maybe that's what I'm doing. I'm in the wrong business. I need to be a party planner. This obsession with sanitizing everything, right? It doesn't just stop at the HR department. The HR department is a fountain of unfun, but it does go all the way to the top, right? Just like the HR director lies to you and calls a mandatory meeting a holiday celebration, the federal government is also lying to us about the economy. So they're sanitizing the numbers. They're scrubbing the data. They're presenting you with a clean, safe, official story that hides the messy truth underneath. They're telling us that poverty is at 10%, right? They tell you the economy is stable, but just like the fake Christmas party, if you scratch the surface, the whole thing falls apart. So the Census Bureau is hiding $1.4 trillion. And just like the booze at the 1995 Christmas party, that money is flowing freely, even if the official report pretends like it doesn't exist. Oh my God. Mongoose87 says, my office Christmas party was virtual and boy, was it lame and gay. Jesus. A virtual office Christmas party? That sounds like something like out of a dystopian hell. Jesus. The reason for the season. Too old to party, says Amy. Get out of here. Get your booty on the floor tonight. Make my day. I want a place to stay.
Thank you. I thought you were avoiding me.
What gave you that idea?
In the last 6 weeks, you've only been in my elevator once, and you didn't take off your hat.
Well, as a matter of fact, I was rather hurt that night you stood me up.
I don't blame you. It was unforgivable.
I forgive you.
Well, you shouldn't.
You couldn't help yourself. I mean, when you're having a drink with one man, you can't suddenly walk out on him because you're having another date with another man. You did the only decent thing.
I wouldn't be too sure. Just because I wear a uniform, that doesn't make me a Girl Scout.
Miss Kublik, one doesn't get to be a second administrative assistant around here unless he's a pretty good judge of character. And as far as I'm concerned, you're tops. I mean, decency-wise and otherwise wise. Cheers. One more.
Oh, I shouldn't drink while I'm driving.
You're so right. By the power vested in me, I herewith declare this elevator out of order. Shall we join the natives?
Why not? They seem friendly enough.
Don't you believe it? After a while, there'll be human sacrifices. White-collar workers tossed into the computing machines and punched through those little square holes.
How many drinks did you have?
3.
I thought so.
Wait a minute. I think I hear the sound of running water. I'll be right back.
I'll be right here. Hi.
Here comes the catty bitch, ready to make everything miserable. Siggy's mom says she turned 60 a week ago. I'd party. Hell yeah. Siggy's mom has got it going on. Merry Christmas, guys. If you're just tuning in the Wake Up America show, I'm your host, Austin Peterson. So glad and thankful to have you all here. Hope you are having a wonderful holiday season. And last night was the last night of Hanukkah. Oy vey. Ben Shapiro gave an incredible speech at AmericaFest over the weekend. Tucker Carlson, visibly shaken, responded to him after saying, please don't call out people for being Muslim. Islamophobia, bad, which was quite an odd message. We got Tom Pappert coming in today at 8:30 a.m. Central Time. So if you're looking to hear about the MAGA civil war that broke out into the open at AmericaFest this last weekend, we have got a great interview for you. So Tom Pappert from the Tennessee Star will be with us this morning at 8:30 a.m. Central Time. And we've also got John Miltimore, because it's Mondays with Miltimore. He will be with us in about 15 minutes to talk about the Ford Lightning being canceled. So we do have some news. We will be covering it. For the most part, we've just been having fun, kicking our feet up. I hope that you guys are comfortable and warm and that you're surrounded by people that love you this holiday season, no matter what you celebrate. Or even if you don't. There are some people that don't celebrate the holidays, but they still have family. They still have people who care about them, perhaps. It's interesting, being non-religious in a religious world, celebrating religious holidays, it does lead one to question, why do we celebrate, right? When you think about the Jewish traditions, right, the tradition is the thing in and of itself. And, I've in my life been the type of person who's willing to cast aside tradition, try some things that are unorthodox, right? Cast myself into difficult or challenging situations where most people maybe perhaps would not be tested in such a way. I test myself in such a way. And I challenge my beliefs, and I challenge my thoughts, and I challenge why do I believe what I believe. And I do come back to, just like my brother Justin in some ways, he's come back to orthodoxy. And I think I'll never be anything but unorthodox. It's just a part of my nature, a certain contrarianism which exists within me and is probably the font of my libertarianism. But I think that there is an importance of, there is an important part of tradition that is an act in and of itself, which may necessarily correlate with a dogma, but dogma is not necessarily, there's a positive outcome to engaging in a tradition where the source of that tradition may have been a dogma, but while the dogma can be set aside or the dogma can be questioned, or in some places, like for myself, it's cast aside entirely. I am someone who believes in no sacred cows, but I see tradition not as a worship of ashes, but of a keeping of the fire, like Prometheus. It is the civilization. It is the scary ghost stories and tales of the glories of Christmases long, long ago. I was really enjoying watching this video last night. It was rather dry and bland, but I enjoy things like that. I watched a video where they talked about the ghost stories of old Christmases, and it was an important part of Christmas tradition to tell terrifying ghost stories. It was a forgotten tradition. Let me see if I can, I'll just play the first minute and a half of this. Forgotten tradition is this account, Chilling Christmas Ghosts.
Where you fit on the I Love Christmas spectrum, you might already be singing Christmas songs. And there's one from a 1963 classic called It's the Most Wonderful Time of the Year, a lyric you might not have thought much about, but it is a bit perplexing. Let's see if you remember it. There'll be parties for hosting, marshmallows for roasting, and caroling out in the snow. There'll be scary ghost stories and... Scary ghost stories? Well, if ghost stories aren't part of your Christmas tradition, they really were for quite a long time. The British humorist Jerome K. Jerome wrote in 1891 that any time 4 or 5 English-speaking people get together around a fire on Christmas Eve, they start telling each other ghost stories.
Yeah.
And while the tradition seems to have faded, it's not completely gone, of course. You're probably familiar with one of the most famous of the Christmas ghost stories, Dickens' A Christmas Carol. Mm-hmm. But A Christmas Carol was far from a one-off. In fact, the tradition of telling ghost stories around Christmas might well predate Christmas. It's history that deserves to be remembered.
Yeah, it was important. It was was the keeping of the fire, the sitting around and telling the ghost stories. Camellia says a lot of the dark Christmas tradition stories come from pagan origins. Well, those are our origins, right? It's fascinating that you have a lot of these people who are, calling for heritage Americans, right? We're all heritage Americans. And don't get me wrong, I'm deeply proud of my heritage. But this was in context of Vivek Ramaswamy's speech that he gave at AmericaFest, where he talked about America being a creedal nation. And the people who talk about heritage and creed and reject creed, our heritage is paganism. So if you're pagan, then you're more heritage than the Christians, because it goes back even further. But just because it goes back far doesn't mean that it's good. We can reject dogma, and we can reject it's our mind, it's our creed that allows us to reject the dogma as we accept reason. But the traditions are still there. The keeping of the fire, the remembering of the paganism, the remembering of the Christian history. Just like the Jews, their Hanukkah. It is a remembrance of the past. Remember, it does predate the New Testament. Therefore, it is more heritage. It was a great speech by Vivek, Jennifer Halbein, and I'm really curious to hear your thoughts on, God, Jennifer, one of these days you and I are going to have to sit down with Camellia and just have a cup of coffee because we got to talk things out. We're going to I've got a guy from the Tennessee Star who's going to join us this morning at 8:30 a.m. Central Time. You're going to love, Camellia, you're going to love that conversation. Jennifer, you're going to love that conversation. Make sure you do not miss my 8:30 interview today. So about 40 minutes from now. So if you got to like come back or something, like do something, do it now and come back. But scary ghost stories. I mean, everybody knows the story of Ebenezer Scrooge, but many of us seem to kind of live this tradition. Never more than now has America needed the moral lessons from Ebenezer Scrooge, from A Christmas Carol by Charles Dickens. What was the moral lesson?
Come on. I must have been out of my mind! She was crazy about me!
Not that one, Frankie. Not that one. This one.
You Prince Arrow right between the eyes.
Oh, God, are you all right?
Oh, you probably shouldn't move someone who's had a bad blow to the head.
Where did I get you?
You got me right here, and the sidewalk got me back here.
Oh, it's going to be quite a lump. I'm sorry, here.
Didn't you?
Yes.
Here.
Oh! Thanks, Lumpy.
Does anybody have a favorite Christmas memory of a loved one? What about maybe a little high school crush that you had when you were young and you got each other a Christmas present? Did you get a Christmas present for your girlfriend or your boyfriend in high school? Was anybody else like romantic like me? Yeah, I was just very much a love-struck teenager. It took me getting my heart broken a couple of times to turn into Ebenezer Scrooge. But there's the warning. There's the moral lesson. Remember tradition. Remember, the ghost of Christmas past is here, and it's here to remind you about your history, our American history. Don't worship the ashes, but preserve the fire. Good morning, Pineapples. I'm Austin Peterson. I hope that you're having a wonderful morning with me here today. Camellia is going to get to stick around with us. No Zoom meeting for her. Good to hear. Arvolt says, I was just talking about the moral lesson of A Christmas Carol just the other day. Exactly. These are the scary ghost stories. How frightening is it? A Christmas Carol is a terrifying story, right? And does anybody remember the Mickey Mouse version spoiler alert, when Tiny Tim dies and they go and see his grave? I'm a child. I'm a little boy watching that and I'm just blubbering. Tiny Tim. Still gets me to this day, right? But that was the ghost of Christmas Future. The scariest ghost was definitely the ghost of Christmas Future. You look at the ghost of Christmas Past or the ghost of Christmas Present, right? Look, and you take a little perspective to look at your life. I mean, who wants to end up? Maybe it's anti-capitalist, a rich old miser, but nobody around you, right? I'll gladly make what I make currently for the rest of my life if I have people around me who love me, if I have my daughter, if I have my wife, if I have Camellia, if I've got Robbie. It's the people around you that really make everything worth it. But what is Christmas without the people that we love? Or what is the holidays without the people that you love? What is Hanukkah without the people that you love? The 8 crazy nights. What are these holidays without the people around us that make these holidays special? George C. Scott was the best one, in my humble opinion, says Arvold 24. Yes, a fantastic. Muppets Christmas Carol also. Well, Mr. Magoo is the best, says St. Selma. Everybody's got one they like. But remember, guys, what was the scariest ghost? The scariest ghost was always the ghost of Christmas Future because it represents the potential for doom, the potential for disaster. It reminds us, memento mori, of course, remember you will die. But it reminds us that after we are gone, we will be remembered. How will we be remembered? Will it be for our miserliness? Remember, no one was ever honored for something that they received. Awards are given out because of someone who has given great gifts to their communities. So the ghost of Christmas future, your potential future, and if you can hear my voice, then you are still, I assume, among the living, then your future is not written in stone. Your future, the ghost of Christmas future, points to a future where things are dark and bleak and your memory has faded. And when people speak your name on their lips, it's always with a poo-poo, poo-poo, poo-poo. May he go to hell, poo-poo. Is that how you want to be remembered? Or will you be remembered by the love that you spread while you were in this life? You know, I don't know if there's an afterlife, and maybe if there is, maybe I'll be judged by, maybe I'm going to hell and Nicki Minaj is going to heaven, but if so, as they say, go to heaven for the climate, hell for the company. I'll be there with Ben Shapiro.
Because we have a duty to truth, we also have a duty to provide you with evidence of the claims that we make. Emotive accusations, conspiracy theories, and just guessing questions, that's lazy and stupid and misleading. None of them are a substitute for truth. None of them are a substitute for evidence. So, when Candace Owens says, I don't know, but I know, that is retarded. And we are all more retarded for having heard it.
Yes, I have to agree with Ben Shapiro. We all definitely are more retarded for having heard of Candace Owens.
Mr. Madison, what you just said is one of the most insanely idiotic things I have ever heard. At no point in your rambling, incoherent response were you even close to anything that could be considered a rational thought. Everyone in this room is now dumber for having listened to it. I award you no points, and may God have mercy on your soul.
He may have mercy on Billy Madison's soul, but he won't have mercy on mine because of what I did at the office Christmas party. It's time to go. John Miltimore is going to be here. It's a Merry Christmas.
It's 1776. Thomas Jefferson is hunched over his desk at Monticello, ink-stained fingers, writing the most radical document in human history. Do you really think he was sipping Starbucks? No. He was drinking something bold, something black, something brewed strong enough to fuel a revolution. That's the spirit behind Founding Flavors, our signature line of liberty-fueled coffee. No soy froth, no climate guilt, no corporate slogans. Just real coffee, inspired by the men who wrote freedom into existence. Every cup is a quiet protest. Against mediocrity, against tyranny, against bad coffee. So this morning, skip the globalist brew. Grab something worthy of a free man's sunrise. Founding Flavors. Now brewing at forlibertyshop.com. Imagine bringing George Washington back to life. Just to explain that in 2025, men can get pregnant, waving an American flag might offend someone, and our government is $34 trillion in debt. But that's not all, George. We have drag queen story hour for toddlers. Pronouns are mandatory. And Harvard can't define woman. Oh. And we send billions to Ukraine but can't fix potholes in Ohio. You know, just normal modern empire stuff. I'm sure he'd be totally cool with it. Right after he finishes reloading. He didn't cross the Delaware for this nonsense, but you can carry on the fight with gear that would have made King George cry. Shop bold, shop free, shop4libertyshop.com.
Are you tired of the strange radioactive effects of leftist culture? Do you ever wonder what happened to good old-fashioned American values? Well, fear no more, because there's a new force fighting back against the cultural rot of today. Introducing Culturama, a right-of-center talk show that's taking back the future today. Hosted by none other than blonde bombshell herself, Daniela Pensack. She's not just talking, she's taking culture back. With sharp takes, brilliant guests, and a few surprises along the way. Tune in to the live video podcast twice a week, because the future doesn't have to be weird. It can be Culturama.
If there wasn't going to be somebody who was a fiery champion of liberty, somebody who would get out there and who would be aggressive, and if they wouldn't do it with more fire or passion than I had, then I would go and I would fight this battle for us. I've fought for the principles that we all share. Parties tend to be secondary to me. We're here because we believe in the principles of liberty. I am not a perfect messenger, but I think I'm a damn good one. This is a replica of our first president's flintlock pistol. You have my full support, my respect, and my gun.
I think that the heart of my philosophy is much more libertarianism than well, that's the fashionable word these days, I guess. A conservative is no longer just that. He's a libertarian, and always has been.
Yet any time you and I question the schemes of the do-gooders, we're denounced as being against their humanitarian goals. They say we're always against things, we're never for anything.
What is fascism? Fascism is private ownership, private enterprise, but total government control and regulation.
Well, the trouble with our liberal friends is not that they're ignorant. It's just that they know so much that isn't so. If we lose freedom here, there's no place to escape to. This is the last stand on earth. This is the issue of this election. Whether we believe in our capacity for self-government or whether we abandon the American Revolution and confess that a little intellectual elite in a far distant capital can plan our lives for us better than we can plan them ourselves.
Conservative, so-called, is the one that says less government. Get off my...
Rise and freedom. I'm Austin Peterson. You're watching and listening to the Wake Up America show on the 4 Liberty Network. Merry Christmas. Hope you have a wonderful holiday season and a happy new year. The office Christmas party has been the topic du jour. We've been talking this morning a little bit about how lawyers and human resources departments have just sapped all the fun out of the holiday. And the Ford office Christmas party this year might be a little toned down after they came back with the realization that these electric vehicles that were coming out as some of these mandates from the government were going to put coal in everybody's stocking if they didn't cancel the job. Joining us now live to discuss It Wouldn't Be Monday Without a Miltimore, John Miltimore from the American Institute of Economic Research. Hi, John.
Hey, good morning, AP. Merry Christmas, man.
Merry Christmas to you too, John, and thank you for not assuming my happy holiday status.
Hey, we can say Happy Hanukkah too. I actually had that in the car. I was giving my youngest child, his friend, a ride home yesterday, and I said Merry Christmas, and I forgot she's Jewish, and so we started talking about Hanukkah, and she gave me the whole history of the holiday, so it was kind of fun.
Yeah, Hanukkah is an interesting holiday. They get 8 crazy nights, and They light the candles for 8 days. My wife's, ethnically Jewish, so we do the candle lighting ceremony, but we also celebrate Christmas. And we say Happy Hanukkah and we say Merry Christmas and we just get over it, right? Some people really do get their a finger stuck up their butt really hard about it. Like you have to say, like I'm supposed to predict that you're Jewish. How am I supposed to predict that you're Jewish, right? Is it your big old Jewish nose am I not supposed to make a joke about that? Am I not supposed to laugh?
Here's the thing. I stopped worrying about it. I stopped worrying about it because Christmas is also a secular holiday. I'm not presuming, your religion when I say Merry Christmas. And, like we have, think of how many people are not Christians at all. They might be Jewish or Muslim, but they still celebrate Christmas. Or, so I think people just, we worry about that way too much.
It's kind of like, here's the thing. Christmas, you're right about it being a secular holiday, because when you go to Japan, like the majority of Japan celebrate Christmas, and the very, very tiny minority of Japanese are actually Christians. But they love, because when we took over Japan after World War II, Japanese they love two American holidays. They love Christmas and they love Halloween. And honestly, it's great. That's a cultural.
How can you not love those? It's
a cultural export.
Love those holidays? Those are my two favorite.
Yeah. Those are great American holidays that belong to us as Americans. That's a shared American heritage tradition. So America invented Christmas. I'm sorry. But
I tell Christians, there's some people on Twitter, they're getting all worked up that other people are celebrating Christmas like it's the right wing's version of cultural appropriation.
What?
I'm like, you need to relax. This is a good thing. Just enjoy it. You know what I like? I noticed this. Even these great Christmas movies, there's wonderful lessons.
Yes.
Like that even it might not be an overtly Jesus lesson, but it's about the spirit of Christmas and something more than this tangible earth in material.
Charles Dickens, A Christmas Carol. I mean, we were just talking about it before you came on. It's such an important moral lesson. It's about memento mori. Remember, you will die, and your legacy and what you do. Like Christmas is an opportunity for you to remember how the people around you that you love and the things that matter. Not the money, not the power, not the. Christmas is the season of love.
And I could go on and say, you know what, there is a kind of a Christian lesson in that. Like as a practicing Christian, you think about these things more. But I love it's a universal lesson that everybody should take. You don't have to be a Christian. And there, Dickens had just a little bit of an
anti-capitalist vibe. I know, yeah.
Well, no, I was going to say like his Christian theme is like he gives one really powerful, it's not even a monologue. It's more like two sentences where it makes it very clear it's about Jesus. But yeah, I never got, people get all worked up about like they think it's anti-capitalist. And come on, like Scrooge was a lonely old man. And that was the point. It wasn't that he was, can you love money too much where it becomes, it turns you sour? Like absolutely. And that's not anti-capitalist to point that out.
Yeah, no, it's not. You're right. It's just a shame that here we have these important moral lessons, but we're all sort of like strangled by lawyers, John. We're all the HR. The reason why the office Christmas party is turned into 2 drink tickets, and it's like during the work day instead of in the evening at a ballroom in a hotel with a bacchanal and a pig and alcohol, is because we're all terrified of being sued. Nowadays, when you get a job, John, you know what it's like. Even in the nonprofits, like they treat you like a walking potential lawsuit.
Yeah, there's a little bit of that, but we can't forget we also have to lay blame on Hans Gruber in that attack at Nakatomi Plaza left people terrified for years.
That was the Christmas party that really showed it was time to tone things down. John Miltimore, we're glad to have you here, brother. I'm glad to talk to you a little bit about this subject that you brought up, which was the cancellation of the Ford Lightning. Why is this important? Cars are canceled all the time. Why is the Ford Lightning so important, John?
Well, it's important to me. I've been tracking this for at least 2 years. I've been writing about this, and when Ford rolled out the Lightning in 2022, for those who don't know, the Ford F-150 Lightning is their EV pickup truck, and it came out to great fanfare. It was called the vehicle of the future. It didn't take long to see there was some big problems, and the production was cut in half early on, and prices were were cut. And they said, it was all because, costs were lower than we anticipated, but you could see that wasn't true. They weren't selling. And, the story got bigger in 2024 because you found out that Ford was really, it was subsidizing its EV line with its gas-powered line. They racked up $5 billion in losses in 2023 alone. And the Lightning was its biggest, money loser. It was, and let me go back. I don't mind it as a truck. They're pretty nice vehicles, but they come, like all of EVs, they come with trade-offs. And the Lightning was very expensive, and EVs are very expensive. Even if you count in those, federal subsidies, you get, that you get a rebate of $7,500. They're not affordable. EVs are not affordable for a lot of people. And that the Biden administration didn't like that answer. They kept trying to force Americans into EVs, and it wasn't, the tax rebates weren't enough. They were going to try to use emissions regulations to force Americans into EVs. And they rolled out an executive order that said half of all vehicles sold must be EV or hybrid by the year 2030 or whatever it was. And they were using these heavy-handed methods to try to force Americans into EVs. Again, they weren't affordable, and they weren't reliable for a lot of people either. You'd have people experiencing range anxiety because it says, I can get 300 miles on this. Well, you usually couldn't. If you were pulling anything like you might with a truck, or you're going more than 70, your range was severely limited. And the bottom line was consumers were not buying EVs. And Ford, after taking it on the nose bad, finally said, okay, like we're recognizing economic reality here. And that's really what they said in their conference call on Monday. They said consumers have spoken and we need to listen to them. That is something that's music to my ears, because it's consumers who should be the ones, deciding what gets bought, what gets made, not powers in Washington.
The problem with Ford, of course, is bigger than just the mandates that have been laid on top of them, but also the way that they deal with some of these mandates, some of the choices that they've been making. And it's not just Ford. A lot of the American auto manufacturers have been in decline in recent years. I was reading this morning about the electric vehicles that are coming out of China, and allegedly, and I just read a report this morning, and I haven't been able to confirm it with 2 or 3 other sources just yet, but allegedly one Chinese vehicle manufacturer has gotten the time to charge for their vehicles down to about the same amount of time that it takes for you to use a gasoline vehicle. And so 5 to 7 minutes to charge your vehicle, they said, and it was a European report. So it said, it gave them 400 kilometers within that 5-minute space, which is a pretty good amount of range. But the American manufacturers are really struggling to keep up. Tesla really, I think, is leading the way, John, for the reason that they're innovating, right? People are willing to pay, obviously it's higher end vehicles, but America, I don't know how we're going to keep up with Chinese slave labor to some extent when we have the burdensome regulations that are placed on companies like Ford and GM and others. I just don't know how the American auto market gets out of the absolute quagmire mess that we find ourselves in. We're getting outcompeted on nearly every front, John.
Well, I think the first step is what Ford's doing. Like you say, okay, this isn't working. Second, I think the Chinese threat on this front is way overblown. I think those vehicles, I think China is making some EVs that are popular. They might be popular in Europe. They might be popular in China. Americans like cars that actually have pickup, right? Like this was the thing with the Lightning or your Tesla or whatever. It has balls, right? Like these cars, that they're nice. But you know what you're not going to be able to do is quickly charge that. And it's going to consume a lot of energy. If you're driving that Lightning, again, why do you buy a pickup truck at all? Why, you might want to actually pull something with it. You want to carry something. So I can look
cool, so I can signal to the ladies that I've got a big truck.
No, that's why you get a Tesla. No, but your pickup truck.
Not around here. Not in Jefferson City, Missouri. I don't know where you're from.
That's probably true.
But you don't show up to a date with a Tesla here for the ladies in Jefferson City. These women all curb stomp you. They're tough with their cowgirl boots. They
but
want,
my
they
point
want
is,
men,
you have
want
these
men with
Chinese.
trucks.
These Chinese EVs aren't that. They don't have that. What they are is they're closer to your golf cart that you drive. You know what? I can charge a golf cart pretty fast. I can drive it for a long time. Guess what? It doesn't have balls. It doesn't have those things that Americans want in their vehicles. So I think, no, we don't need to be slapping tariffs on Chinese cars. Let Americans buy them. Let's see how many. This idea that suddenly Americans are going to be buying all Chinese vehicles, not going to happen. Like, those vehicles are not as desirable as people think. Is the sticker price low? Sure. And let America. If you're really serious about trying to get Americans in EVs, this is what I would say. I don't buy the mantra that EVs are this virtuous car that's far cleaner than gas powered cars. They have a much bigger carbon footprint than people want to admit. But if you're serious about that, let Americans buy, cheaper Chinese vehicles.
John, why should American companies be forced to compete with Chinese slave labor manufacturing processes? Why should the American worker have to compete against a communist society where a government subsidizes their corporations and to force the price of those commodities lower on the market than they otherwise would be? Why should we allow that to happen?
Are you saying we're a virtuous capitalist society who's not doing that? That we're not subsidizing? Well,
we don't have slave labor. They're not slave labor.
Are we subsidizing them?
Yeah, we certainly are, but John, we certainly are, but not to the extent that the communist Chinese are. We don't have actual slave labor.
My point is, we could make the same argument about other countries. Those other countries can make the same argument. Say, well, we're not going to trade with the U.S. Look at them; they're pouring all this money into EVs. Look at them; how can we compete with that? They could make the same arguments about us. Let's buy their vehicles. They're not going to outcompete us. Like, they're not. These vehicles. Have you driven a Chinese EV by chance?
No, I haven't. But I have not
either. I have watched lots of videos. These cars are not going to be what Americans buy. Like, you might have lower income people that say, "Hey, I can get an EV for $10,000, and maybe it tops out at 60, but that's not a problem. Let consumers buy these things. If you're saying that you don't want to trade with China at all on moral grounds on that's a bigger conversation. But this idea, it seems like we hold vehicles to some other standard. We do all kinds of trading with China. They buy all kinds of stuff from us. We buy all kinds of stuff from them. But for some reason with automobiles, we think we should have a different set of rules for those. And I reject that thinking.
Yeah. Will Run Riot says he's not buying a Chinese EV though. And
I'm with him. I'm not buying one either.
Yeah, I would. I mean, where are they? I've never even seen them on the market. I'm curious where people would get a Chinese electric vehicle in the United States. I think it's probably still pretty expensive. I mean, the problem is that it's not just the electric vehicle market, but the market as a whole. Our auto market was bad before COVID, but COVID just threw a monkey wrench into absolutely everything. Add on top of that, the Liberation Day tariffs and all the other, problems that we faced in the marketplace, John. And it just leads itself to this beautiful disaster that we're sort of looking at right now. If you're just tuning into the Wake Up America show, it's a nice size audience this morning. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the show. Everybody else is probably taking Christmas week off. That's why we're the only thing to watch. John Miltimore is live with me this morning on the Wake Up America show, and we're glad and thankful to have him here. He works for the American Institute of Economic Research, and we're talking a little bit about Ford Lightning. We've been talking about the Christmas parties of the scary ghost stories and tales of the glories of Christmases long, long ago. John, as we wrap this up in the holiday season, we go into Christmas. For you, John, Jesus is the reason for the season, is it not?
I have that sign up in our house. We saw it as a cute little sign. And I'm like, you know what? I'm going to get that. And yes, I think, it's something. And I say this, we haven't always been good even about, my kids are getting a little older. And I'm like, damn it, we're going to go to Christmas Eve service this year. Like, we're always traveling and we're away. And that's kind of the excuse not to go. And I'm like, I want to go. And it might be a reason to invite others in the family, who don't practice, who don't go to church. I'm like, you know what? Who wants to come? And you can listen to some, wonderful Christmas music, which is still, it gets me all the time. Like some of these old hymns and Christmas songs, I find lots of meaning in those, and I find lots of meaning in the birth of Christ. And for me, it really is a season, and I recognize that more. I feel that more as I get older. Like for years, it was just sort of like everyone else. You'd watch Christmas movies and you exchange presents and things like this, but it takes on a much deeper meaning for me now, and I like that part about Christmas. To me, it just is a wonderful season.
Yeah, it is. It's one of the reasons why I really love it is because when you go to the grocery store or the Ace Hardware in town, people are dressed up. They've got Santa hats on. They're just generally in a little bit of a brighter mood. I don't know what it's like where you are, but the communities that I've grown up in and lived in Missouri, the season changes people for a brief moment. Some people, not everyone, some people lighten up. They make a little joke. They say Merry Christmas. They have a little awkward conversation, whereas normally they would just be trying to check you out as fast as we can. So, I try not to rush things. I try and let the holiday sort of wash over me as much as I can. But one of the things I realized, John, is, and you're in the same situation, is that when you become a father, when you become the parent or, the pater familias, Christmas is about responsibility even more in some ways. You're kind of responsible for other people's happiness to a great extent. When you're a kid, things are sort of laid out for you and, it's done. You get to go to the party. You don't have to plan the party. It's kind of up to us to keep the traditions of the holiday alive. It's up to us to tell the scary ghost stories around the fire, to tell the stories about Grandpa at Christmas and the tales of the glories of Christmases long, long ago. It's on our shoulders, isn't it?
It really is. And, I was out yesterday with my youngest son, who I spend probably the least amount of time. The other ones are older and more demanding. He's 9, and he and I just went sledding together. Like, we had like an hour, like, let's go. And we're out there and we got good snow and we're flying down the hill. And I'm looking around. I'm like, this is what it's about. It's being outdoors, and you got all the snow in the pines, and it was, the sun was not down yet, but it was kind of heading down. And I'm like, we need more of this. Like humans, Americans, we need more of this, being out in the cold air. The hot cocoa that you drink when you come back tastes 10 times better after you've went sledding for an hour. And it's not, we like the presents and we like the songs and the movies, but it's the experiences that we have together that make it the most magical. And it was one of, and me and my littlest, we can butt heads a little bit. He's stubborn, and he had an even better time than I did. And I'm like, getting out with your family, doing these things, go ice skating, go sledding, go skiing, find those experiences, build your time together. We spend too much time on screens and devices, and I think it affects us. I think, we need to be out and experiencing these things. And if you don't, you'll look back and one day and you'll be like, wow, the time got away, and so be. We talked about Charles Dickens a little bit earlier. Christmas past is that beautiful time, but the lesson, I think, is the present. Like when he goes and he's in the present is like you got to enjoy it now. Because if not, what's lurking behind Christmas future? And it always stood out to me that Christmas future was so dark, but the future is scary. It's uncertain, and we know we're all going to die. So in that present, take advantage of it, relish it, eat, drink, and be merry, and God bless everyone.
God bless us, everyone. Thanks, Tiny Tim.
I haven't watched that one yet, and I will. The Muppets Christmas Carol is one of my favorites, and the George C. Scott Christmas Carol. So I will be watching one of those over the next day or two.
Sounds good. Merry Christmas, John, and a Happy New Year.
See you, Austin. Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, Happy everything.
While I got you here real quick, just so you know, we will be out on the 29th. So no John Miltimore interview next Monday, but we'll be back on the 5th.
I get a week off. All right. Have a good one, Austin.
Bye. You love to see it. Merry Christmas to all, and to all a good night. We got Tom Pappert joining us live here in just a few minutes from the Tennessee Star. Thank you to Andy Opperman. He went and bought some Founding Flavors coffee from the shop today. I think he wants to unlock the bonus content. I think we're almost unlocked, but you know what? We're just going to say, we're going to call it. We're going to call it unlocked. Merry Christmas. Here's my gift to you. I've got the bonus content for you. I'll play that for you before we get Tom Pappert from the Tennessee Star to talk about this speech over the weekend.
That's on us. us, but I also have an ask in closing of each of you here tonight, especially Gen Z, especially the next generation of young conservatives who I believe are actually going to save this country. Do not repeat the mistakes of the woke left. The number one mistake of the woke left, I will ask you, I will implore you not to repeat as young conservatives, is don't be a victim. The number one factor, thank you. Victimhood culture from the left or the right will be the ruin of this country. The number one factor, not the only factor, but the number one factor that determines whether each and every one of you achieves your goals in life is actually you. That's the truth. That's on us, but
They hated Vivek because he told them the truth. We'll be right back with Tom Pappert from the Tennessee Star to talk about the conservative civil war that exploded into the open over at AmericaFest this weekend. It's the Wake Up America show, and you're watching the 4 Liberty Network.
The U.S. is stealing from millennials and Gen Z to make boomers even richer. Social insurance programs are compatible with a basic safety net. But what we have now is a slow-motion generational fleecing. For years, pointing out the obvious was considered impolite. America's biggest, most distortionary transfer of wealth does not flow from elites to the working class. Nor does it show up as corporate welfare. It flows from the relatively young and poor to the relatively old and wealthy. It's the defining injustice of our fiscal regime, the largest driver of our government debt, and the quiet engine behind the malaise of millennials and Gen Z. More than a decade ago, Reason editor-at-large Nick Gillespie wrote a piece arguing that Social Security and Medicare had, together, become the great cause of America's generational inequity. We noted that senior households were wealthier than ever, while young households still working to make ends meet had to prop them up further. We also warned of the threat to a genuine social safety net, treating every elderly person, no matter how well off, as a member of a protected class entitled to increasingly unaffordable benefits, will eventually destroy a system that progressives in particular cherish. Around that time, Occupy Wall Street protesters were railing against the 1%. They also should have considered occupying the American Association of Retired Persons, AARP, the most powerful lobby defending the largest intergenerational wealth grab in American history. Russ Green, managing director of the Prime Mover Institute, joined the fight and coined the term total boomer luxury communism in an important article over at The American Mind. The name sounds like a joke, but the math is sound. American heads of households younger than 35 now have a median net worth of about $39,000 and an average net worth of more than $183,000. Those over 75 have a median net worth of roughly $335,000 and an average net worth exceeding $1.6 million. As a group, today's seniors are the wealthiest we've ever had. Many own their homes outright in markets younger families cannot afford to enter. Seniors enjoy higher rates of stock ownership and have benefited enormously from decades of rising asset values. Meanwhile, younger Americans face soaring housing costs, student loan debt, delayed family formation, and a labor market shaped by slower growth and higher federal indebtedness. Some of this reflects natural wealth accumulation over time, and there is nothing wrong with that. But why does the modern welfare state magnify the disparity? As Green explains, retired millionaires have become the greatest recipients of government aid, as Social Security can redistribute up to $60,000 a year to an individual and $117,000 to a household. Meanwhile, Green notes, Medicare programs are paying for golf balls, greens fees, social club memberships, horseback riding lessons, and pet food. Younger Americans are also on the hook for about $73 trillion in unfunded obligations projected over the next 75 years, making now the time to act. Some defenders of the status quo argue that higher taxes will fix the problem, but it would again fall on younger earners to continue redistributing benefits to the same affluent seniors, worsening the generational imbalance. The problem is not a lack of revenue. It's a benefit structure that ignores modern demographics, modern wealth patterns, and basic fairness. Paying less to seniors who don't need the money is the only fair reform to this dilemma. Every time someone points these facts out, defenders respond reflexively, but seniors paid in, they earned it. No, not all of it. Not in any meaningful actuarial sense. We've known for decades that the system is wildly unbalanced. As Andrew Biggs of the American Enterprise Institute points out, a typical average wage retiree in the 2030s will receive 37% more in Social Security benefits than they paid in taxes. Medicare is even more lopsided. Seniors routinely receive 3 to 5 times the amount they contributed. Some older Americans who oppose reducing benefits will respond that we need to preserve the same system for younger generations. I'm sorry, but avoiding destitution in old age does not require a 25-year-old to fund the most regressive wealth transfer scheme in the developed world, especially when certain seniors use it to enjoy 25 years of vacations. On the legal front, things are not what people think. As the Supreme Court made clear in Fleming v. Nestor, 1960, Congress has a legal right to amend Social Security benefits. The government can change the formula tomorrow. Social insurance programs are compatible with the basic safety net, but what we have now is a slow-motion generational fleecing. Politicians continue to treat seniors as an overwhelmingly fragile and impoverished group in order to oppose reforming the system. Thankfully, Americans across ideological lines are beginning to recognize the structure for what it is, one that requires punishing younger generations through taxes and debt so that their grandparents can receive far more in benefits than they ever contributed or were originally promised.
Receive that, bullies. We won't be silenced ever again. We will speak up for Christians wherever they are in this world.
Amen. I don't know if you can see this at home, but she is getting a ton of standing ovations.
I love you guys so much. Thank you guys.
Word up. She got that super bass. Good morning. That was Nicki Minaj at AmericaFest in Phoenix over the weekend, declaring her support for Christians around the world. It did seem to be a fight over a different religion, namely the one held by Ben Shapiro. Over the weekend, an open war broke out, a MAGA civil war between Tucker Carlson, Ben Shapiro, Vivek Ramaswamy. It's the Groypers versus everyone, it seems. Joining us now to break it down and discuss for his very first time on the show, Merry Christmas. We're happy to welcome Tom Pappert from Tennessee Star, joining us live on the Wake Up America show. Good morning, Tom. Merry Christmas and welcome to the show.
Good morning, Austin. A Merry Christmas to you and your viewers and listeners. It's a real joy to be here.
For sure. Let's be honest. Nicki Minaj is the only real famous person who is there.
I thought that was a good way to start it. Because she's really, when you talk about this kind of big tent MAGA, we want to invite everybody into the party. I thought we were talking about Nicki Minaj. That's who I was excited about, not this like Groyper side.
Exactly. When I got into the MAGA movement, I didn't sign up for MAGA so that I could, believe in race essentialism as the most important thing in politics. I signed up because I wanted some hot black female rappers.
Now, I think she's technically, what is it, Trinidadian?
Okay.
Trinidad and Tobago. So she's not, the black people of America, the foundational black American guys like Tariq Nasheed on Twitter, they would not be a fan of her.
No, they would not, especially not now, man. They're going to feed her to the wolves after this. I mean, thankfully, she's uncancelable. She's kind of in Dave Chappelle territory where she can do whatever it is that she wants. It must be nice to have that kind of FU money. The rest of us will have to just beg for cash on our podcasts and our newspapers in our communities.
Many such cases, Austin. Many such cases.
Tom, I've really enjoyed your commentary on X. That's why I invited you here on the Wake Up America show today, and I'm thankful that we get to have a few minutes with you this morning for you to share your views with us. Talk to us about the best speech at the event and why. You were talking a little bit about this during the break.
Well, now I know that a lot of folks like Vivek Ramaswamy's. I had a couple problems with his speech, but believe it or not, and I've been a Ben Shapiro critic in the past, in the early years of my career back in 2016, but I think Ben Shapiro probably set the watermark for what a speech should look like at one of these events. It was not preachy. It was not naming names. It was not, here's a list of people you should disavow, as some people have misrepresented it, but rather it was a list of suggestions about how the so-called influencers should comport themselves, but also what listeners, sort of a rubric for listeners to hold them up against and determine if these are credible people or not. So I think even if you disagree with everything Ben Shapiro has ever said, his speech was very good because he's given you a rubric to hold him against now, in addition to the Candace Owens and Tucker Carlsons of the world. So I think I have to give a lot of credit to Ben Shapiro. I went back and rewatched it again last night, and his rubric is simple. Conservative influencers owe their audience truth, clarity. They have responsibility for not only their actions and words, but the actions and words of their employees and guests. They owe their viewers evidence, and finally, they owe them solutions. That is a great speech and a great point.
No, that's an interesting angle that you take on that, considering your past and your past views of Ben Shapiro, because I was always a big Ben Shapiro fan. I didn't always agree with him. I came out of the Ron Paul libertarian movement of 2008 and 2012, and Ben was always disparaging my guy, Ron, which irritated me. And I didn't agree with him on certain foreign policy matters, but I always agreed with him about things like capitalism, about free markets, about regulations, about the things that are really important, not these ethnic conflicts that everybody seems to be obsessed with these days, racial identitarian politics, which has affected left-wing politics, which has completely taken over left-wing politics, the woke mind virus, right? And that Vivek Ramaswamy in his speech was talking about to beware, that the Republican Party should beware not buying into the same fallacies that the woke left buy into, which is, don't be a victim, he says, right? And that everything depends on you. Essentially, that you need to have a concept of taking ownership over your life and not assuming that, as a white male, perhaps you're a victim. Although we might have beef with that when we saw that Compact magazine article that came out last week about the systemic discrimination against people of our particular ethnic flavor, Tom. And yes, we white people do have a culture, do we not?
Well, I think Vivek made a great point, and a lot of people that are my age, I'm like the edge of the millennials, the beginning of the Zoomers. I think that they need to hear that yes, it's a crooked system. Yes, we're fixing it way too late. A lot of people are going to have just dealt with a crooked system for half of their lives or more. But fundamentally, at the end of the day, the individual is responsible for their own lives. You can take a bad situation and make it into something wonderful. President Trump, yeah, he came from a little bit of wealth, but he started out in Queens and he made it to Manhattan, and now he has golf courses and buildings all over the world, and he's president of the United States. Life is a bit what you make it. I would say the only issue with Vivek is that he goes a little bit too far into the analysis or maybe hypothesis of what a creedal nation is, but he doesn't really hold his own side to it. He doesn't hold the left to it. And as president, I don't think you could do something like that. I think the real answer is obviously not that heritage Americans are the first class, we're the top caste, and then underneath them are the people who arrived in 1880. I think that's just as silly too. But I think the real answer is probably something in the middle.
Probably, Tom, and that's why I'm really glad I have your commentary here, because I'm looking for some sane and reasonable reporting on these stories. I don't have to agree with everything somebody says, but I have to feel like there is a high, or a low signal to noise, ratio where it's like, well, I'm getting more signal and I'm getting noise. If I said that correctly, I hope I did. But Tom, there's a lot at stake here with this conflict. I mean, Tucker Carlson, he gave a speech that seemed really stilted. It seemed like he was really rattled. He gave his speech after Ben Shapiro spoke. And it's odd. Tucker Carlson, he's always had blood on his hands. he is admitted for his role in the war in Iraq. I mean, if anybody's hands are people love to attack the Bill Kristols and the John Boltons of the world, but if there's blood on their hands, there certainly is on Tucker Carlson. He seems to have gone into this strange, I would call it an obnoxious opposite land, where he called out people who are afraid of Islamophobia a week after we had to watch people being slaughtered on the beaches of Bondi Beach, Australia. It just seemed a little tone deaf that the message of Tucker Carlson's speech was centered around not being Islamophobic. Did you get that, or am I alone in feeling that way?
No, it was bizarre. And frankly, this entire new direction that Tucker Carlson has taken is bizarre. I mean, you mentioned Bondi Beach, but there's also the American service members that were just killed in Syria. There's also the many, I mean, unironically, anti-Semitic, almost terrorist attacks being foiled in the United States right now. I think there was one in California just over Thanksgiving. So this is just absurd. And to me, it shows that Tucker, you know, he does, and I'm not saying social media is some virtue, but Tucker Carlson comments on all of these social media debates while not being an active user of social media. And my understanding is he just kind of has people text him stuff. So he's got this same core group of people, I assume his brother is one of them, who just text him content. And I think what this has resulted in is Tucker is totally disconnected from the United States in terms of the wider conversation, the wider culture. He thinks that perhaps because of all his new Muslim friends and what they text him, he thinks this is actually a major issue when it's just not. And by the way, Ben Shapiro has gotten lots of criticism for obviously caring about Israel, being a devout Zionist Jewish man. But it was not Ben Shapiro who brought up religion during his speech. It was Tucker Carlson who brought up Islam, which was just, again, frankly, bizarre.
Yeah, it's an odd position to be in. You know, I come from, like I say, that Ron Paul libertarian world, and I kind of knew that we were in trouble over a decade ago. My movement specifically, not necessarily the conservative movement at large, but I actually think that some of the illness, the sickness of the conservative movement has migrated its way from the libertarian movement into the wider conservative movement, because in some ways, you know, Tucker Carlson has adopted every libertarian conspiracy theory there is while rejecting every libertarian political view, right? He's sort of embraced Elizabeth Warren and Bernie Sanders on economics. And then I'm supposed to pretend like he's an ally because he cuddles up with Muslims and doesn't want to go to war, allegedly, right? Spreads propaganda from foreign regimes. He's America first, but he's buying homes in Qatar. And that's supposed to be the definition of America first. I don't know. I think a lot of this has to do, though, with the business ties and interests that there are, because Tucker is so intertwined with this administration and its Praetorian Guard that it's even Trump called him kooky. I kind of agreed, but the conservative movement is very split right now, and it's because I think it's being, like Ben Shapiro said, eaten alive by this conspiracy brain. People don't want evidence. And I'll just tell you this quick little anecdote before we move on to it. I remember when I worked at Fox News, they had this thing in the basement called the Brain Room, and I mean, these were serious reporters. These were like, you know, mega geniuses of math, of science and art and history and war. You could ask them anything. The Brain Room could find you anything within minutes. This is before AI. Right? They could find you anything in seconds. That it was the pre-AI. And I did a conspiracy theorist debate where I was the skeptic and I was debating against like the vaccine, chemtrail, 9/11, JFK, truthers. And when I told them about this, I was like, these were incredible reporters, this Brain Room. They all laughed it off, right? It's the death of experts. Not that the experts don't deserve it, but it doesn't mean that I'm going to take vaccine advice from somebody who's, makes $9 an hour at the Kmart. Is that so wrong? Have conspiratards taken over the GOP?
Well, I do think that's part of it, but I don't think it's the majority. And I think that AmFest really taught us that it's not the majority. But I do think that there is this sort of reaction to COVID where, okay, Dr. Fauci lied to us. So that means anybody who is in any position of expertise is lying to us, even if it's somebody who we liked 5 minutes ago, even if it's Kash Patel. No, he's now an expert. He is lying to us. And it's just not a philosophy. It's not a foundation that can really work over the long term. And I do think you're right. I think that's part of what allows the Tucker Carlsons of the world, or perhaps whoever is financing his opinions, I think it's what allows them to have this sort of ability to manipulate.
Yeah, I agree. I think that people are they've opened themselves up, and the pandemic played a large role in it. It's like you want to question what government does, everything that the government does. But what you don't want to get into is this weird where you have a reaction where the government says it, therefore it's not true, right? You have to be able to discern facts from fiction and truth from reality. And I actually feel like this is really what the larger meta debate is about. It's about people who acknowledge reality and people who are trying to live outside of reality because it's either lucrative, because there's a lot more. When I look at the conspiracy podcasts on Rumble, Tom, they're huge. I'm like, who is this guy? And he's got 1 million followers and he's talking about Bigfoot all the time because Bigfoot's more fun. Bigfoot's way more interesting.
I try to remind myself, you and I have been doing this for about the same amount of time. I actually came into politics through Ron Paul too. I just maybe left libertarianism for MAGA a little bit earlier than others, but it's very cyclical. We've seen this before. I remember this time in 2013, the voluntarist wing of the libertarian movement was off smoking pot and carrying shotguns in places they shouldn't be carrying them. And so maybe this is just like that. Maybe this is the Republicans in an off year, except we're the winning party. Our guy got in, and maybe we're just having a little soul searching and figuring out what it's going to look like. That's my hope, that this is a temporary issue that will be over soon and not something that's going to haunt us for the rest of our lives.
Yeah, I'm deeply concerned that it might, though. I mean, as we've sort of degenerated into tribalism, the tribalism has taken its next step, which is its natural step, the ugly step, which is that the right, in order to counter the identity politics of the left, is now engaging in an identity politics of the right. There's this thing that you see, a term bandied about heritage American, which I think it was important what Vivek Ramaswamy was talking about. I agree with Ronald Reagan about the concept of Americanism. There are a lot of people who share my ethnic identity that are white liberals, Tom, that I have absolutely nothing in common with. I have way more in common with the Hindu who doesn't wear shoes in his house for interviews, Vivek Ramaswamy, than I do with people who call themselves a Republican, but who agree with Tucker Carlson that capitalism is the problem. Meanwhile, they're selling nicotine patches to teenagers. So, I mean, isn't that an important point, Tom, that the right should not be embracing the identity politics of the left?
You got to be careful, though, because that's very close to the Tucker Carlson argument on Piers Morgan. Let's get rid of these white liberals. I have more in common with the Pakistani cab driver who might throw acid on the face of a passerby. No, I do think it's true. I think that, as I said earlier, this whole heritage American thing, it's fun, it's a novelty, and that's all it should be. I like amateur genealogy. I like that young people are getting involved in it because it's fun, it's interesting, and it gives people something to aspire to. If you see you have some ancient relative who helped found Rhode Island, as I found out one of mine did not long ago. It's just fun and interesting, but it doesn't make me better. It doesn't make me worse. And as you said, there are many cousins of mine who, being from the Puritan ancestry of America, they would likely have very far left-wing politics if I could ever track these people down in 2025. I think the only issue with Vivek comes, it seemed as though it was almost a pitch to big business, right? Because he wants, it almost seemed, well, if anybody can be an American by accepting this creed, well, then we can invite in infinite foreign labor because our American stock has had really bad education. They were failed at college. They were failed in high school. They're just unfixable. So let's go import some new Americans who will be able to do their jobs and raise our GDP. I appreciate everything Vivek says, but I do have some concerns about his motivations.
Well, listen, what about if they're Cubans and they join? What if they vote Republican for 10 years? Can we? What if that's a part of their citizenship clause? No, it's a good question. No, you bring up good points there, Tom, and I think that you're working in the right direction. I will say that you're right about the whole like Pakistani cab drivers thing, but I mean, I do think that a nation as a creed is really what makes America unique, because other nations were centered around their ethnicity. And but you're right. You know, looking at the heritage of my ancestor, you know, I joined the Sons of the American Revolution this year. I'm grateful and thankful to have had incredible stories. I look at my ancestors' accomplishments and I weep. Tom, I look at myself as a lesser man than them, and now I look at but I take that as an example and say, I need to be a better man every day. I need to step up, and I need to earn the blessings of liberty that they wanted to secure to their posterity. I'm the posterity. It's my job to secure it. But the blessings of liberty are a creed that were written down in the Declaration of Independence, that was written down in the Bill of Rights, in the Constitution. That's a creed. Those are things that you put on paper. Those are words that have meaning. And frankly, I want nothing to do with my cousins in Portland who burn buildings down in the name of Black Lives Matter. And I would much rather spend my holidays with my Hindu friend Vivek Ramaswamy of Ohio. I have more in common with them than I have with people who have my blood and who happen to live on my soil. I can't change that, and I don't think we necessarily should. Isn't the creed intrinsic to being an American?
Well, I do agree with a lot of that. For example, the sort of Groyper right loves to post this photo of J.D. Vance with his in-laws, with Usha Vance and her family, and they look like the nicest people you'd ever meet. It looks like grandpas and aunts and uncles, and there's little kids, and they all look happy and they're smiling, and they say they want to put this man in the White House, and I'm like, yes, of course I do. Actually, these people look great. I would have more in common with them, as you said, than the average leftist in Portland, Oregon, and it would certainly be a lot easier to spend a holiday with one of them than a leftist in Portland, Oregon. The only problem with the creedal notion is, so what do we then do with these people in Portland, Oregon? I mean, we can't denaturalize and deport them.
Why not? Why not?
Well, I'm for it, but where do we send them? That's the only issue, and that's where it gets back to. We send
the Groypers to Romania, and we send the communists to Venezuela. We send all the Seattle Portlandites to Venezuela or North Korea. And
you make a valid point.
And we send the fascists where they came from.
This is getting to the heritage argument that, unlike some of these other groups we're talking about, there really is nowhere. I mean, I've done my ancestry. Maybe I could get into Italy if I were deemed to not be one of the creedal people. A quarter Italian. Maybe Italy would accept me. But most of my ancestors come from Germany. They wouldn't accept me. And a few of them come from England. I don't want to go there, Austin.
No, I definitely don't. I think about Denmark. Denmark probably wouldn't have me. And then there is France, and France definitely would not have me. There's Denmark, there's France, a little bit of England, Scotland. Who wants to go to Scotland? That is a socialist hellhole. They are going to turn into a third world country. But I mean, it's because they lost their creed. From Scotland came the font of Western liberalism, the Western civilization, the United States, and our individualist view of the economy and the market came from Adam Smith. It came from the Scottish Enlightenment. The Enlightenment creed, that ideal, that was what separated American conservatism from European conservatism. So when you talk about like where would we send these people back to, we'd send them to a place that wants no separation of church and state. In the United Kingdom, you pay for the priests. The Church of England is the official state religion, right? At the expense of all the others. Everybody else is paying for, the Church of England to have priests that are in the government. So, I mean, American conservatism, Tom, my point in this, is unique in the world because of its libertarianism. Because conservatives in the UK are not like conservatives in the United States. Conservatives in Italy are not like conservatives in the United States. But what is the one thing that separates us? The American conservative believes in liberty. Is that true, Tom?
Well, I do think that's true. I do think that perhaps some of them would have a different, and I'm not including myself in this. Like I said, I come from a libertarian background, but I think some of them would have a different understanding of liberty, though, than a good libertarian like you and me, though.
Perhaps, Tom. Is there anything else on this topic? I mean, there's so much drama that went down over the weekend. Tucker Carlson, Ben Shapiro, Vivek Ramaswamy. Russell Brand got up and actually told some pretty good jokes, I thought. Was there anything else on this topic, on this story, that you think we missed, Tom, that you think it's important for people to know?
Well, I think in closing, people should really look at the responses to some of those speeches. There were, yes, everybody got some applause. Everybody got, a very nice response. But some really seemed to get some crickets. And I've heard some from people that were in the room that the audience was not as interested in the MAGA civil war. It seems to be more of an influencer civil war. And I think for those of us who are kind of influencers or are in the media or are just on Twitter, x.com, I think it's easy for us to lose sight of this and think that maybe these arguments being made by obscure, like online internet shows at 2 a.m. on Rumble, I think maybe that doesn't have as much sway over the average American as we think it does.
No. How dare you? Get out of here, Tom.
Hey, this is not 2 a.m. This is a respectable 8 a.m., 9 a.m. show.
That's
this
right.
Is not.
This is for people who have jobs and children and who want to get a little news before they start their day. Hey, Tom, this is a great conversation. I really love your takes on things. I've been following you now for several months. I have your notifications turned on. Where can people go to follow you and to turn on notifications?
That's a lot of responsibility to have the notifications turned on. I'll have to improve my Twitter tweet quality. You can find me at RealTomPappert on X.com, and you can read my work at the TennesseeStar.com, TennesseeStar.com.
Well, now we're going to have to get ourselves a subscription to the Tennessee Star. Hey, Tom, Merry Christmas to you and your family. Thank you so much for your time today.
Merry Christmas, and thank you. I hope to come back soon.
Absolutely. That's Tom Pappert. He'll definitely be back. Follow him over at X at RealTomPappert. Camelia liked him. Tom is great. Wow, we're so close to unlocking the bonus content, and I don't even have to sing. Yes. Who's ready for a little Liberty Loot live? Ready for the great grift off? Here we go, guys. Turn that bonus content on, and I don't even have to sing a song. I'd do it for free. You know I would, but I earn $200, and I sing a Christmas song. Jingle bell, jingle bell. But first, we're going to play a game called The Great Grift Off. It's time for everybody to log in on your phones. Yes. We're giving away one special prize today. Well, special prizes for anybody who wants one. If you play. You must play to win, and you must be present to win The Great Grift Off. Corey Highland says Tom is the best. Wasn't he good, Corey? Thank you very much for joining us, by the way. Make sure that you guys log in on your phones, crowdparty.app. That's crowdparty.app. It'll push us over the top if you sing Santa Baby, says Camelia. Oh, God, no. Everybody's welcome to play the 2025 Rewind Party. We're going to go back through history of what happened in 2025. Were you paying attention during the 2025 news season? We're going to have a little rewind party. Now, you might think, oh, yeah, I paid attention to what was going on in 2025. You might be surprised because when we do the 2025 rewind party, you're going to be like, curtains for Zusha, Baby Gronk. Who are those people? Do you know pop culture, what happened in 2025? You weren't listening, were you? Oh, well, we're about to find out. You might think, oh, I'm so smart. I'm going to win this game today. We're going to play a little trivia at crowdparty.app. That's crowdparty.app, and you log in on your phone and join us by putting in that secret code that you see on your screen. It's 30062. I'm going to hit the 30-second countdown button, and then we'll have 30 seconds to get in the game. We've got 10 players so far. That's a great number. Join us live right now. We're playing a game show at home. We're competing for real prizes. I kid you not. Everybody can play. Totally free. All you have to do is go to the website on your phone, crowdparty.app. That's crowdparty.app. And then type in that secret code that you see on your screen. Type it in now. I'm going to hit the countdown button, which means we'll have 30 seconds. Oh my God. One more and we'll be tied for the most amount of players we've ever had. We have 13 players. That's the highest amount of players we've ever had. The highest amount. If we get one more player, all right, here comes the 30-second countdown. If we get one more player in the next 30 seconds, that will be a record for number of players we've had. Crowdparty.app 30062. The game begins in 15 seconds. We just need one more player. Oh, there it is. 14 players. A new record. 15. Will. Yes. Here we go. 2 seconds. And here we go. Let's play. Get ready. Get the right answer based on the image. What Netflix TV show marked their final season starring Gossip Girl's Penn Badgley? I told you it was not going to be easy. 2025. Did you watch Netflix this year? Was it you, Enola Holmes, Bridgerton, or Stranger Things? Ooh. It was you. Did you watch that? on Netflix, April 24th. 4 of you got it right. 3 wrong, 3 wrong, 4 wrong. Kim Jong-drew, number 1. Still plenty of time to win. Picture trivia. Get the right answer based on the image. What Prime Video show released their second season this summer with large success? The Summer I Turned Pretty, It Ends With Us, K-Pop Demon Hunters, or Stranger Things? It was The Summer I Turned Pretty, yes. Oh, you weren't paying attention in 2025 to Netflix, huh? Get the right answer based on the image. Taylor Swift's album, Blank, had her step into her Finache showgirl era this year. Was it Evergreen, Cardigan, 1989, or The Life of a Showgirl? Now, you gotta get the Taylor Swift one right. 10 of you did. Okay, thank God. You gotta know your Taylor Swift. David Lee, Ashley Ann, and Camellia, 1, 2, and 3. Matching pairs. Play your matching pairs. Go ahead and play your game. It's going to cost me $25 at the gift shop, but I don't care because I'm going to have a great time. A Merry Christmas. Matching pairs. Play it out. Let's see who came out 1, 2, and 3 now. David Lee, Krampus, and Camellia. Krampus! Damn, got a legit demon in here. Picture trivia. Get the right answer based on the image. Justin Bieber went viral in 2025 for which phrase? What did Justin Bieber say? It's not clocking to you? Say less. It's giving, or I fear. It's not clocking to you. Most of you did get that right. You're why Krampus? Why are you watching Justin Bieber? I suck at this. Yeah, you're all falling apart this morning, and I'm enjoying all the benefits. I have the one and only 24 karat. Finish the quote. I have the one and only 24 karat. La Boo Boo. Derelict. Derelict my balls. Picture trivia. Who was the main pop star headliner for Coachella this year? Oh, you guys weren't watching Coachella? Was it Prince, Kendrick Lamar, Katy Perry, or Lady Gaga? It was Lady Gaga. Nicely done. Most of you got that right. Derelict. I didn't know you were a Lady Gaga fan. Finish the meme. Nothing beats a Aman Holiday, Hilton Holiday, Southwest Holiday, or Jet 2 Holiday. Nothing beats a Jet 2 Holiday. Now that one I would have gotten. You don't know what the hell a La Boo Boo is. Camellia, she doesn't know what a La Boo Boo is. They're everywhere. What longtime singer finally won an album of the year at the Grammys? Rihanna, Selena Gomez, Beyonce, or Taylor Swift? Which longtime singer finally won an album of the year? It was, wow, she looks really old there. Beyonce. Derelict. He's all about the pop culture. Here it is. You just received a gift. Will you accept it? It could be good. It could be bad. Take the chance. Oh, if you accepted it, you got 150 points. Derelict. Get the right answer based on your image here. Who performed alongside Kendrick Lamar at the Super Bowl halftime show? Was it Doja Cat? Was it Rihanna, A$AP Rocky, or ZA? ZA. No idea who that is. Round 11 of 12. This is it. The final round. Derelict probably going to run away with it if Krampus doesn't step up right now. Last round. Which popular HBO show went viral this year for Parker Posey's character? Stranger Things, Squid Game, House of Dragons, or White Lotus? That's easy. White Lotus. Duh. Wow, most of you did get that right. Game over. Winner is Derelict. Derelict, send us a text. We'll send you your $25 gift card to the Grift Shop. I hope you guys have a wonderful day. Pork Chop says it was rigged. Oh, come on. What a great show. What a great day. Merry Christmas, everybody. We will be here tomorrow. We're out Wednesday and Thursday. I will be back Friday morning with a little Freedom Family Friday. Then next week, it's gone. Stephanie and I, we're taking off. We're going to be out. We're not going to be doing any streams. We will be back on the 5th of January. So keep an eye out for that. Have a wonderful day. We will be back tomorrow. Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. It's the Wake Up America show on the For Liberty Network.
Millennials and Gen Z. To make boomers even richer, social insurance programs are compatible with a basic safety net. But what we have now is a slow-motion generational fleecing. For years, pointing out the obvious was considered impolite. America's biggest, most distortionary transfer of wealth does not flow from elites to the working class, nor does it show up as corporate welfare. It flows from the relatively young and poor to the relatively old and wealthy. It's the defining injustice of our fiscal regime, the largest driver of our government debt, and the quiet engine behind the malaise of millennials and Gen Z. More than a decade ago, Reason editor-at-large Nick Gillespie wrote a piece arguing that Social Security and Medicare had, together, become the great cause of America's generational inequity. We noted that senior households were wealthier than ever, while young households still working to make ends meet had to prop them up further. We also warned of the threat to a genuine social safety net, treating every elderly person, no matter how well off, as a member of a protected class entitled to increasingly unaffordable benefits, will eventually destroy a system that progressives in particular cherish. Around that time, Occupy Wall Street protesters were railing against the 1%. They also should have considered occupying the American Association of Retired Persons, AARP, the most powerful lobby defending the largest intergenerational wealth grab in American history. Russ Green, managing director of the Prime Mover Institute, joined the fight and coined the term total boomer luxury communism in an important article over at The American Mind. The name sounds like a joke, but the math is sound. American heads of households younger than 35 now have a median net worth of about $39,000 and an average net worth of more than $183,000. Those over 75 have a median net worth of roughly $335,000 and an average net worth exceeding $1.6 million. As a group, today's seniors are the wealthiest we've ever had. Many own their homes outright in markets younger families cannot afford to enter. Seniors enjoy higher rates of stock ownership and have benefited enormously from decades of rising asset values. Meanwhile, younger Americans face soaring housing costs, student loan debt, delayed family formation, and a labor market shaped by slower growth and higher federal indebtedness. Some of this reflects natural wealth accumulation over time, and there is nothing wrong with that. But why does the modern welfare state magnify the disparity? As Green explains, retired millionaires have become the greatest recipients of government aid, as Social Security can redistribute up to $60,000 a year to an individual and $117,000 to a household. Meanwhile, Green notes, Medicare programs are paying for golf balls, greens fees, social club memberships, horseback riding lessons, and pet food. Younger Americans are also on the hook for about $73 trillion in unfunded obligations projected over the next 75 years, making now the time to act. Some defenders of the status quo argue that higher taxes will fix the problem, but it would again fall on younger earners to continue redistributing benefits to the same affluent seniors, worsening the generational imbalance. The problem is not a lack of revenue. It's a benefit structure that ignores modern demographics, modern wealth patterns, and basic fairness. Paying less to seniors who don't need the money is the only fair reform to this dilemma. Every time someone points these facts out, defenders respond reflexively, but seniors paid in, they earned it. No, not all of it. Not in any meaningful actuarial sense. We've known for decades that the system is wildly unbalanced. As Andrew Biggs of the American Enterprise Institute points out, a typical average wage retiree in the 2030s will receive 37% more in Social Security benefits than they paid in taxes. Medicare is even more lopsided. Seniors routinely receive 3 to 5 times the amount they contributed. Some older Americans who oppose reducing benefits will respond that we need to preserve the same system for younger generations. I'm sorry, but avoiding destitution in old age does not require a 25-year-old to fund the most regressive wealth transfer scheme in the developed world, especially when certain seniors use it to enjoy 25 years of vacations. On the legal front, things are not what people think. As the Supreme Court made clear in Fleming v. Nestor, 1960, Congress has a legal right to amend Social Security benefits. The government can change the formula tomorrow. Social insurance programs are compatible with a basic safety net, but what we have now is a slow-motion generational fleecing. Politicians continue to treat seniors as an overwhelmingly fragile and impoverished group in order to oppose reforming the system. Thankfully, Americans across ideological lines are beginning to recognize the structure for what it is. One that requires punishing younger generations through taxes and debt so that their grandparents can receive far more in benefits than they ever contributed or were originally promised.